The town is not saying that. The town of Rehoboth, and I'll just say this, I don't want to bring these politics into it, but when you're saying that the town isn't voting it and it's driving for the, as if the town's vote was to was to get rid of the, or tear apart the school committee, that is bogus. There's not, or the schools. There is not one parent who has children in the school or not that wouldn't want to make sure that any kid that comes to school here doesn't get the best education that we can afford. I use the word afford. In the town of Rehoboth, when you're saying that we're voting to dismantle, that's not what we're voting for, why we voted. The town itself can't afford to take dollars out of a source which next year wouldn't exist, and then the town is financially unstable. There's got to be something that this town have to be, that Rehoboth has an obligation to the citizens. And the citizens themselves are the one that are expressing it. The citizens themselves are asking questions. In fact, matter of fact, I hear so much stuff and questions, and it's accountability that they're looking for. Where does the money go? I keep hearing all these things. The town itself is not voting so we have to be able to get rid of sports. It's not voting because we don't want to support the education. That's not what it is. The town just doesn't have the money. Simple.
Right, but that's the outcome. That's why we're sitting here at this committee fighting amongst ourselves. What do we do to close the gap?
But there's $50,000 to go into an OPEB fund to fund in the future right now while we're making cuts to children in the school district. I mean, that's the bottom line. There are other things. There was never a meeting that took place to discuss any kind of compromise in between.
It was. He sat with Jerry. No.
Jerry isn't the only answer.
No, I mean, whatchamacallit, Jerry was in the meeting, but he sat there with Michael.
Can he answer?
Mr.
I was there.
Brought me into this. I've been more than happy to jump in. A year ago, I shared with everybody that if the override passed, we should be good for several years. And the reason why I said that was because I was optimistic that the town of Rehoboth's finance chairperson would have invited us to the table to discuss what our needs were and what the town's needs were. Because prior to that, we've always had that discussion. We've always had a discussion, and quite frankly, the town of Rehoboth's budget has grown 30% since we've been here. For 5 years. On top of that, there's been nobody laid off at the town of Rehoboth. Nobody. We have an incredible relationship with the police department, the fire department, the COA. It's just remarkable how much of a relationship we have with the town of Rehoboth. And Mr. Solis is correct. It's not the town of Rehoboth. They've supported us on debt exclusions. They supported us on overrides. They've been there. However, what's changed in the equation? Why did Dr. Azar say that we're going to be okay for several years? And I said it, I stand by it, because we should have been. this deal or this whatever took place was after the fact. We were scrambling around. I was scrambling around to have a meeting with Mr. Dignan, which I asked for, and he gave it to us, several of us. Then, when that went nowhere, I reached out to Mr. Schwal to ask him, what do you think we can do? How can we settle this? But every single thing you're seeing now is by design. This is not by accident. This is by design. And it's the Finance Committee in the town of Rehoboth who has gotten us to this point. When I was at the town meeting last night with Dayton, it was very simple. It was the most simplest thing. Why? Because the finance chairperson reached out to us and said, would you like to come by and explain some of the financial considerations of your town? And you know something, for me to even acknowledge that at a town meeting, that's how I began what I spoke about. Thank you for inviting us. We have communication. I meet with the town administrator monthly. Whenever the finance folks need something or we need something, we can sit there. What is missing in this whole equation is that the Finance Committee, and quite frankly, Mr. Solis is in a tough situation. He really is. Serving two masters is just destroyed us. And it's not because of Mr. Solis. He's an elected public official, and he's an appointed official. He didn't ask for, this is what happened. So what we were thinking, or I was thinking, when Mr. Solis came on board, what's going to happen to communication between the Finance Committee and us? It's going to be unbelievable. It's going to be great. And I'm not blaming Mr. Solis. I am putting the blame. Yeah, is it a blame game? Absolutely. Absolutely what Janice just said about the two towns. And then we talked about Dayton. Dayton over and over, 2007 to 2014. Who subsidized what? The town of Dayton came up with $1.7 million year after year after year. And then it changed when I became superintendent. And when I talked to several people, what's going on? Well, you just don't have the $1.5 million anymore. Because Rehoboth tried to do an override in 2014, and it didn't pass. Okay, so what we tried to do as an administrative team was to show the folks in Rehoboth, hey, listen, we know what happened. $1.7 million was taken through parliamentary maneuverings during a town meeting, that's the way it worked. But we did not, and we kept cutting, and these weren't just phantom jobs. We've laid people off. We've laid off paraprofessionals, we've laid off secretaries, we've laid off association members. We've been laying off people for the last 4 years. And all we hear is about how you don't do your homework. Well, I'm here to tell you, you do your homework. Each one of you has sat with me over and over, no offense, but we're tired of answering, because all 10 of you at some point have sat with me, or the 3 of us, and it is ours. We have an advisory group that we've met with. We've met with a subcommittee several times. We've met with individuals quite a bit. And at this point, to get criticized for not having a budget process, that is just outrageous. So we saw one of these phantom videos that seem to have been popped up, and anyone who has enough time to sit here and to go through each one of our meetings, there is something substantially wrong with that person. Substantially wrong with that person. And I can guarantee you they're not a DR graduate. And what they continue to do is hammer away at us. And what you said, it's the great divide. Let's get all 10 of them fighting over what? What are we fighting over? You know, so thanks for bringing me back.
Yeah.
There's so much, I could respond to that, but we're gonna end up here fighting back and forth and all that.
You won't get
So-
subtitled, George, so don't worry about it.
It's not fighting, it's discussing.
Well, I'm not, yes, I am a school committee member, and I am also a finance committee member. And I have to draw the line where I do what and the other stuff, and that's what I do. The onus on what you talk communications, we do communicate. You also tell me what your thoughts are of the school committee. I haven't brought those up, and I won't, because it's a personal thing that you mentioned. You know, we do talk.
That's well, don't go there.
This is the evil empire that we're talking about.
So,
Throw it out there, destroy someone's reputation, but that is wrong. And if you're part of those people, you need to resign. Let them be.
Don't talk to me that way.
All right.
I am telling you.
Madam Chair, he
Hold
should
on.
go through the chair. Don't look at me and don't talk to me.
Mr. Chapman.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Chapman.
I can't hear you.
Mr. Chapman.
And I talk about making good choices, about surrounding yourself with good people. And that's the commonality that we have that the evil empire doesn't have. And that's why we'll succeed. And if it's a tent meeting, I just hope the evil empire understands this piece, is that if the tent meeting takes place, the town of Rehoboth will have to come up with $558,000 out of their budget. And if they met with us, it wouldn't have had to happen. So that's the bottom line. Good luck to them, good luck to us, and good night.